and say, or send me a message to say that you cannot hear me. Okay, everybody ready? Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the people from the, I want to say, rural areas and Otjiwarongo, Mariental, everywhere. We are pleased that you can join us in this forum. Council in November 2018 approved that NIPA follows the SIPA logbook system or education program, which is the logbook system as well as the PE. And we will, through this year, start with both of them, running them consecutively. The logbook we will start in the 1st of June, and later in June we will start with the PE for those that wants to write the exam in November. I'm very excited with the program. Charlotte, myself, Brandon did some training in Johannesburg, and it is a fantastic tool to see, and I think the trainees tomorrow will love that. I also went last week to join SIPA at Saldanha and Bellville through the same program, and it was exciting to see how the trainees actually enjoy the program and the results. I think that is something that the principals would like to see how your trainee compares with trainees right across South Africa and Namibia. I'm pleased to announce that we have Mr. Shashaba, can't pronounce his surname, and he said it's okay, Mr. Shashaba from SIPA, and he's going to present us with an hour or two on the logbook. And if you have any questions, please type it in at the bottom of your screen, and he will compile that. He will then answer your questions. All right. Okay, Mr. Shashaba, it's over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sichaba Mutaung. As he explained, I'm from SIPA, the South African Institute of Professional Accountants. We actually are here to explain more about the new logbook that we have started last year, June. So the main purpose of the logbook was to actually align it to key CTO requirements and how the qualifications are changing, and IFAC requirements as well. So one will remember that one of the IFAC's requirements in key CTO is we are looking at the end to produce accountants who are able to explain work and be able to do work as well at the same time. Because one of the things that we realize is you get the trainees for about 3 years into the learnership, but at the end of the learnership, if you ask a trainee a question, they don't know anything about it. So the new logbook, it actually compromises of the competency, which involves both evidence and the assessments part of it. So we're gonna go through the logbook shortly, and if you have any questions, you can ask me anything. So before I can actually go in, is there any questions regarding of what I've said? I'll take that as I can continue. Okay, thank you very much. One will actually note that on some of the platforms, when you actually log in, I'm not sure if, but by the end of the day tomorrow, everyone will have received their login details to the logbook, especially the OEs or / principals as we refer to. So they will have their login details, and then they'll be linked to the trainees, and then they'll be linked to the ATCs as well. So the logbook you'll see is pretty much simple to use, but when you're using it for the first time, you might think that it's difficult, but it's actually easy to use, and it's so much user-friendly as well. I think that's one of the reasons why we moved over from the old one that we had to the new one. So one of the features that we have, which is very nice, is you can find it on Android, and then you can find it on on Google App Store as well. So you have an app that you can install in your phone, so you can access the logbook wherever you are. Especially we looking the reason why we actually developed that app is one of some of the trainees, they actually don't have time while they are working 8 to 5 maybe at the offices. So it's easier for them when they go home. They can actually download the app and then they can be able to upload their evidence on that. And as well, we have this feature which you can actually work offline. So you can download the logbook offline. So when you get home, you don't need to be connected to any internet, and then you can review and then approve whatever you want to approve. So immediately when you are connected to the internet, and then everything will be synchronized. So this is one of the special features that we have of the logbook that I'm going to present to you this afternoon. Any questions? Okay. So the logbook, the first thing that you need to do is the domain. I think maybe we make a mistake. I know a lot of people, like when we launching it last week, they were confusing it with our website, which is cypa.co.za. So our domain here is www.cypa.logbook.com. So if you say cypa logbook.co.za, it won't take you to the right domain. So you will see it will say the screen is not operating at the moment, or something of that nature. But the right domain always will be www.cyperlogbook.com. So at the screen that we have is just a brief of. I know currently I've been briefed that most of the trainees at your ATCs, they're still using the manual logbook. So one will ask, how are we going to make it easy for them to move from the manual logbook to the online logbook? We'll show you. It's pretty much simple. So, but most of work will actually rely on the trainees to actually do their part of work, and then the OEs will do part of the work, and then NIPA will actually sign it off and say we agree to this. Finally, then they'll sign them off, and then they'll be ready to write the exam. So the first thing that you will need to do is you log in. Java at cyper.co.za. Then my password. And then you are in. So first, what I want you to show you is this is what I see from my side, because I have all the rights of the logbook, but I will show you the OE side later into training on how to go about maybe in doing that. So the reason why I'm showing this screen is I want you to have a clear understanding of where is it come from, and then how is it operating in the background, and then how some of the things will look and maybe will make sense later. So one of the thing is currently, including the NIPA trainees, we have about 2,511. So we have loaded the NIPA trainees already, but we haven't activated it. But by tomorrow, like I said, everyone should be activated. And then when you log in, the first thing that you see your trainees in first year. You see a trainee in first year, and then in second year, also in third year. So one of the features is when you click here, it actually gives you the whole list of the people who are on a first year. So you will see also when you're logging in as an OE, you will have this feature, which is easy and nice tool to use, because instead of going to search who's on a first year, second year, and third year, you can easily come here and click here, and then everyone will be there. And then one of the nice features is it calculates per region. So we have different regions in Gauteng, but for these purposes, the NIPA one will actually be on the side. We'll actually develop a tab where it'll show that these are the NIPA trainees at the moment, and then their levels as well, like maybe in first year, second year, and third year. So, and then the second tab is on your right hand side, you will see there's a different types of notifications. So those notifications Those notifications are from trainee to OE, from assessor to SIPA, and then in this instance will be NIPA as well. So when you send a notification from the logbook, if I click one of the notifications there, you will see it works exactly like an email. So if you receive a notification on your logbook, you will see it on the right hand side. And then what you need to do is you click on it like I did. If I can go back, let me show you again. You click on it, and then you read what is required from there. So the nice thing is you can actually respond to it. You can actually type your message here and then send. So it will be sent to the relevant person who actually sent you that notification. That's a nice thing about it, because some of the communications, when you're sending it via emails, when you're doing it via telephones, when you're doing it via phone, it gets lost in between. It's nice to have a system whereby you can actually track everything. You can actually see what your trainees are doing as well. Because one of the notifications is immediately when the trainee has uploaded the evidence onto the logbook, you will get the notification. You'll also get an email on your mailbox. But the email is pretty much simple. It will tell you that the trainee so-and-so has uploaded. Please click here. You click the code and then it takes you here. And then you can actually log in and view the assessments. Before I continue, is there any questions? Okay, I see. Okay, so there was a question, but we have answered it already. And then can I move on if there are no questions? Okay. So we're moving into the next step. So the next step will be, I'll explain this actually in a thorough way when we're going into the OE's profile, which you will see how we do it. So the assign one. The assign one, we have different types of the assignment. So we have assign RPL and an assign logbook. So when you're assigning RPL, it means if your trainee has applied RPL via NIPA, and then which has been approved, then they need to upload documents. But the first step, remember, the first one was like you bring the old evidence that you have from the previous company or maybe where you worked. So this is how it's going to work with this one. You will evaluate the trainee first and then understand which competency the trainee claims that they have done previously in their line of duty. So after you have identified that, you'll come onto the system and then you'll click Assign RPL. You will click Assign RPL. And then after you have clicked Assign RPL, you will see it shows you the different types of competencies which you will extend, and then you will tick on the side for each and every competence. But you cannot do this without evaluating the trainee and then finding out what they have been doing previously. Because this is very important, because if someone actually comes to you and said, I have done commercial law, they need to demonstrate and then give you evidence. So you need to sign it off, and then that type of evidence, they're going to upload it here after you actually assign RPL. With the new competence, this is the old competency. I'm sure the codes are familiar to what you have on the manual logbook. But with the new competencies, which we'll touch on it now, with the new competency is after you have done this competency and the RPL has been approved, you will need to do an assessment, which is linked to one of our learner management system, whereby you will attempt questions, about 10 questions, and then you have 2 attempts. So should you not be successful on that, you'll have to redo it again. So this is how you assign RPL. And then the second tab here will be on how to assign the logbook. So this step is very important because the trainee cannot do anything on the logbook until the OE has actually assigned the logbook to the trainee. So we actually did this because previously on the manual logbook or on the system that we were using before, it was easy for trainees to say, I've done a work of 3 years in a year's time, or maybe in 6 months. But in this case, you open the competency as per what the trainee has done up to so far. An example will be the trainee in first year will only do cash book, and a cash book will include petty cash and other books of prime entries. So those books of prime entries, you'll actually have it in the first year. and then maybe a little bit of tax and VAT maybe in between. So it's your responsibility to actually identify that this trainee, these 6 months that I've been with, or this year I've been with, I can actually open these competencies only for him. So an example will be this. So when you come here, you will see this is not assigned. So this logbook is still not assigned to a trainee. How you see that is not assigned? So on accountant, it still says 0/4. And then on agreed upon engagement, it still says 0/5. And then on business rescue, it still says, on business rescue, it still says 0/5, 0/6. And then on cash book clerk, it says 6/6. So when it says 6/6, it clearly means that this has been assigned. So this is how you assign the competencies to the trainee. The first thing that you need to do is you will click on the site. But first thing that you need to understand is you need to actually read what the competency require. So how will we see what the competency requires?
So, Mr. Schreiber, everybody's complaining that we cannot see your screen.
The screen, okay.
Okay, so neither can we.
Neither can you, okay.
Yeah. Just hang on a second for us.
Okay.
I think it's because you opened up the. Here we go. Okay, so maybe we must go back a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
So if everyone can see the screen now. Okay. So your facial expression, that's something. We can see now. Okay. Okay. Okay, we will go back a bit. I understand that everyone couldn't see my screen. Apologies about that. And then we'll actually go back to where we were. So I'll actually start by show. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what was it
Before they assigned the logbook.
before they assigned the logbook. Okay. So we were actually on the dashboard.
Yes.
Okay.
That one, yes.
All right. So what I explained on the dashboard was the following. So the dashboard will normally shows we with the OE profile, it will work a little bit different, but the setup is exactly the same, and the stat actually shows the same as well. So you will show the number of the trainees which are assigned to you on your left-hand side. In this case, you see 2,511. So that 2,511 also includes the NIPA trainees as well, which has been loaded, but they have not been activated as yet because we need to add the OEs, ATCs, and then link it to NIPA as well, assessors.
Use the term principle. They don't understand OE.
OE, okay. So the principles of the ATC. So what will happen after we link that is when the principal lock in, you will see all the trainees which are assigned to you. And then the nice thing is you can actually, I was actually talking about where my screen was lost. I was actually talking about it's very important that the principal needs to make sure that they have the login details to the logbook, because some of the functions are solely depending on the OE to actually act before the trainee can do something from their side. One of the example will be, I was talking about the RPL, when you are signing the RPL. So when you're signing the RPL, you'll come here on assign, and then you say assign RPL. So normally what will happen is the process of the RPL, it actually works differently now. So the application will start from NIPA, then you'll apply to NIPA, say this trainee is actually applying for RPL, and then they're applying for this month. So they'll go on the system, they'll add the months, and then the RPL will actually open from the principal side. So the principal will come here, assign RPL, and then we'll click view, and then we'll check this. So on the normal circumstances where the RPL is not assigned, this is actually blank. So the OE will come here, tick this off, but you don't tick this off only. So you'll tick this off after understanding what the trainee is applying the RPL based on what. So an example would be the trainee will come to you and say, I have maybe a previous experience of this. But you as an OE, you need to make sure that you actually check if they did it or not. Yes,
So,
I see.
in that specific case, the principal must now look at the signed off logbook by the monitoring officer, Charlotte. She has seen it, and they can use that as a guideline what they can sign off.
Yes.
Okay.
So only those evidence which has been uploaded or maybe has been kept in a POE, the portfolio of evidence, and signed off by a monitoring visitor, which was assigned by NIPA. Only those evidence can be uploaded as RPL on the logbook currently. Thank you, Essie. Can be uploaded as an RPL on the logbook currently. So what needs to happen is any other information which is going to be uploaded for RPL, I think NIPA needs to be aware of it first before it can actually be uploaded as RPL on the system. But again, this part of the leg is solely depending on the principal. You log in, you assign this to your trainee. So your trainee won't be able to upload anything as yet until you have assigned the RPL to them. And the second part that I spoke about was assigning the logbook. So when assigning the logbook, it works the same way as the RPL, but this one works differently because it comes first. So what the OE needs to do first, the principal what needs to do first is you log in, you assign the competencies first. So you assign these competencies first. You see, these competencies are not assigned as yet because when the trainee clicks on them, it it's grayed out completely. So what you need to do is you will come here and then you tick on assign, 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 and then at the bottom of the page you'll click save. So by doing that, the trainee will get a notification saying the competencies has been assigned to you. So from there, after you have assigned every competency on the logbook, depending on what the trainee has done, and then you go back, okay, you're applying for RPL for this, then let's go and assign RPL on the competencies that we have assigned you. Any questions before I continue? Okay. So the principles, I think most of the questions that we get is, why do we want to cause so much work for principals? Because already they have so much work to do. But one of the important things is this. So when the principal or the ATC takes over the trainee, they actually commit to training the trainee to be the best professional accountant in practices.
And also, the principal will at some stage realize that although there's a bit more administration work by clicking and not so much as writing, the training will be much less. Because in each of the sections, once we do it tomorrow, the trainee will be solely responsible for his own training. So your training time in the office will be a lot less. And each person can do the training at his own pace and over and over and over again. So your time will be reduced during the training time, the actual training time that you spend.
Yes, this is true actually, because you will do most of the work when you start, but during the 3 years of the trainee or 4 years of the hosting a trainee into an ATC, you'll find that the principal will not do much anymore, because the only thing that you'll have to do is immediately when the trainee has uploaded something, you'll get an email, you get a notification, you just click the link, you go, you approve, and then that's it.
Supervise.
Yes.
Supervise that he has done that specific assignment.
Yes. And then on supervision, you will see when we actually read what is required or maybe what is needed as an evidence in each and every topic, you will realize that we're no longer saying a trainee can upload what they think is right. So the trainee will need to apply themselves. So from what they did at the ATC and their experience and their understanding as well. Because on some of the instances, you'll find, like, I'll make an example of a PT cache. A trainee will just print a PT cache and then they upload that as an evidence and then the principal will sign it off. But we won't take that as an evidence anymore because it clearly says the trainee needs to show an understanding before they can actually upload the evidence. And then on top of that, yes, on top of that, for new trainees, there will be an assessment that they will need to write after each and every competency completed.
So, but that also gives the principal the assurance that the trainee understands that specific assignment. If he passes that, and like Shaba said previously, is he gets 2 chances to do that assignment or the little the assessment. And once he failed, it reverts back to now you must start over again because you don't understand. So by the time that the trainee wants to mark off completed and the principal must approve, you are assured that they have already, or the system has already marked his work and agree that he does understand his work.
And the nice thing about that, the assessment is once the trainee has attempted it more than 2 times, then he or she'll have to go back and re-upload the new set of evidence because it clearly shows that the set of evidence that they have uploaded, they don't understand anything on it. So they'll have to go back and re-upload the new set of evidence. Yes.
And what I have seen from the trainees in Saldanha, it also measures time. And I think time is crucial to you because it's senseless if they must do a petty cash or a cash book and it takes them 4 days. So there's a time limit to every assessment. So it improves their skill of thinking and understanding within a specific time period. So I think that's also very important to you, that they will be able to think on their feet once they've attempted that assessment.
Thank you. Okay, so any questions regarding the assigning of the RPL and an assigning of the logbook? We good. Okay, the third tab that I'm going to show you is the actual logbook component. So the actual logbook components, it compromises of the current trainees that we have as an ATC and monitoring it as a principal will actually stay on the old competencies, which we actually saw. But the new trainees that we're going to load, which are going to join the learnership, they're going to be on the new competency.
Now that will only be the first years.
Yes, that will only be the first years. So, but I will show you the 2 parts of both the old competency and the new competency. So let's start first. Let's start first with the new competencies. So the new competencies, it actually laid out, like I explained before when we started the presentation, is we actually developed this because we saw that most of the trainees, they actually struggle with taking everything at once and then making sense of it. So this logbook, the new competency, is structured in a way that its name, you will see we have accountant, we have agreed appointment engagements, business rescue, and then cash book clerks, cost accountant, and a whole lot of things. And the financial accountant, yes, the compiler of financial statements. The reason why we did that is one of the SAQA requirements is, which is, yes, NQA. Yes, NQA is we are looking at having a different exit points for a different qualification. So meaning when the trainee is on learnership for 3 years and then they decide maybe to move on in the life on the first day, at least they know that I have completed the accountant competencies, I've completed the cash book clerk. They can actually use that because the system, we're looking at the next phase of saying after you have completed that, it will actually issue the certificate of saying you have actually completed this course and then you're being competent on this competency. Okay. We're so good. We're so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say they cannot hear Essie clearly. So
Okay.
I will just smooth that side. No. Yeah. Just say sorry, you're moving me over.
Okay. Sorry, we just moving Essie over. We're just moving Essie over so that we can actually have a clear understanding and hear her. So what we're explaining is one of the requirements why we structured it like this. It has a different components and then it will have a different exit points for each and every trainee. So when the trainee decides maybe decides as per se, but maybe they feel like they cannot continue the learnership anymore, then they know that they've completed accountant, which they will issue a certificate, which is not on an NQF level, but is a completion of a particular competency on the logbook clearly. So they must actually not mistaken it as if it's a qualification that you get from the logbook. It's a certificate of completion of a certain competence. So these competencies, how they mapped, you as an OE, you will click here to actually view what is required. So each and every competency have a description. So the description outlays what is the competency all about. So for example, we're talking about recording transaction in compliance with the accounting framework. So we know how to record the accounting records, and then we know how to record all the transaction in terms of the accounting framework. But the second one will be the practical and working of training. That will be the trainee must be exposed to. This is where the principal actually has to read this and understand it properly. So this will mean the trainee must be exposed to this. So meaning at the ATC, the principal must make sure that the trainee is exposed to recording revenue transaction, recording transaction for PPE and investment property, recording transaction for leases, recording transaction for foreign exchange and transactions. And then I know most of the question that we used to get is, if you are listing this as practical and work for trainees in my ATC, what if I'm not exposed to this? That's whereby the trainee needs to go and do the research. Then after doing the research, they will come to you as a principal and then you'll sit, discuss the evidence, and then from there you'll sign it off and then you'll upload it as an evidence.
So guys, if you don't understand, in other words, in some of the offices, trainees doesn't get the exposure to all the elements. So then the onus is then on the trainee to go and research and find something that he can do to complete his practical training. Bring that to the principal, who can then agree whether the trainee has completed the correct practical training. It could also be that principals will start working together when it comes to certain areas in these fields, or it can be that you might ask NIPA to assist the trainees in maybe a CPD program where they can then get this practical training, where we previously could not identify what areas the trainees needs training in. So please use the NIPA monitoring officer or myself, that we can get the correct practical training to the trainees.
This is very important because the manual logbook that we are using currently, it doesn't actually give you that as in detail of what is expected of a trainee, or maybe what is expected of a principal, maybe to say the principal needs to expose the trainee to the following competencies. So this one is clearly shows, like what Essie say, if you're having a problem, you are more than welcome to actually speak to NIPA, and then I'm sure they can organize a CPD, and then an expert will come, expert matter of the subject will come and present that. But presenting it that doesn't it doesn't necessarily mean that the trainee will be competent after the presentation.
He must still do the assessment.
Yes.
And be marked.
Yes.
And then the principal, it might be that you as the principal don't have the expertise in that specific field. But then at least that you know that once the system has marked the assessment and the trainee complies, that you then can mark it off as completed.
Correct. And then when moving to the assessment criteria should include the following: measurement of the selected transaction, initial and subsequent recognition of the selected transaction. So this is all what we spoke about. So it's not a matter of printing, signing, and then uploading. The principal needs to make sure that when sitting with a trainee, after you have reviewed a couple of evidence, because the logbook now allows you to actually do the desktop reviews. So you can actually do the desktop reviews on your own, and then you make your own notes of saying competency, CSA, and then CSB, CS what, going down. You can list them down, and then you have a meeting with a trainee, and you like, the assessment criteria of this is the following, and then what you said here, I don't understand. Can you please explain it? So if you see that the understanding of the trainee is different to what they wrote, so they will need to go back and then redo the evidence again. So and then again, it will guide you what kind of evidence is accepted. So copies of the accounting records and supporting documentation. Trainee is competent if he can recognize the selected transaction in compliance with the accounting standard. So that is the demonstration that we're talking about. So when the trainee is sitting here with the financials, or maybe when he's sitting here with the PPE or investment property, they should actually understand what is actually means by what is presented in front of them. So you can only sign off the trainee if you feel like the trainee actually understood everything that they are actually talking about. Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, we're going to move to one of the competencies which is very interesting, will be the financial accounting competency. If you look on the logbook, financial accounting was actually combined into one. So on the new competencies, we have financial accountant, and then we have compiler of the financial statements. We have a review of the financial statements. If you remember well, this was actually combined into between internal control and financial accountant. But we have made this separately because it's purely accounting. And one of the evidence that we saw, we actually motivated this for changes. You will find out that the ATC, if the trainee was doing one client in the first year, then they'll continue with one client until the end, just adding more clients onto it, but uploading the same set of evidence, which is not wrong, but it doesn't show the exposure in terms of whether the trainee is actually being exposed to what they're supposed to expose to. And one of the things will be the trainees will actually leak information from one another. Maybe if you have done it previously, you'll give me a copy, I'll make a copy, and then we'll sign it and then we'll upload it. But it actually prevents that from happening. How does it prevent it? You will see some of the descriptions when you read them. It's so detailed. One of the things is the competency name is recording of the transaction in preparation of the financial statement. And then description will be investigating and recording of transaction, year-end adjusting entries required for the preparation of the financial statement. So this clearly means the trainee actually needs to do the work. He needs to actually go record the work. If there are any investigation that needs to be done, he needs to do that and write his own reports and upload that as a set of evidence. So a set of evidence for this will be a copy of the transaction recorded to draft the financial statement together with the supporting documentation. The assessment must focus on the recording of the transaction in respect of the application of the accrual principle, year-end adjusting. Trainee is competent if he or she can be able to record transaction required to draft the financial statement accurately and independently. So on this competency, the trainee will only be competent if he or she can be able to present this and then can be able to draft the financials independently. So why I'm stressing this out is you'll find that the trainee on the first year level, they can actually upload this evidence on the previous logbook. But how will a first year trainee be able to draft their financials independently and be able to upload the evidence? So this is where your work as a principal needs to actually make sure that the competencies that are assigned to trainee are relevant to the trainees.
Oh, the assignment. Okay.
I'm not sure. Should I explain more about the other competencies and
No,
stuff?
no,
Okay.
that's okay.
All right. So the other competencies, they still work the same way. You will find different time. You get a description, you get a practical and working training, you get an assessment criteria and evidence. But should you find any of evidence, maybe, or assessment criteria not being clear to you, you are more than welcome to actually drop NIPA an email, and then they'll be able to assist you on maybe how to go about in compiling that as an evidence. So the other thing that we have as a feature here is we have a different kind of reports. So one of the reports is this, but here we have more reports because this is from NIPA's side. So this is what NIPA will actually see. So they can actually see the trainees without a single competency selected. So this will actually come from the trainee side and the principal side. So you'll find that on some of the instances, the principal hasn't assigned the logbook and the competencies to the trainees. Or maybe the trainees has been assigned the competencies, but they have not been worked on as yet. So this will become a problem in a way that if this is done from the principal and not done from the trainee or the other way around, if there are going to be notifications and reminders. So after 21 days without principal logging in and assigning anything to a trainee, you get a reminder after 21 days. If it's still not done after 30 days, you get a second reminder, and it will actually alert the trainee as well that you must remind your principal to assign. So if that is not done within 40 days, it gets escalated to NIPA. So that's whereby NIPA will get involved saying, why is this trainee, they've been on at your ATC for 2 months, but they haven't been assigned a logbook or maybe assigned any competency? Do you have a reason for that? And then that's whereby we actually encourage the communication between the principal and the trainees. And then one of the things from NIPA, maybe from NIPA to the principals or the ATC, is inactive trainees. So NIPA will be able to see all inactive trainees. So if the trainees have been registered on the logbook, but they're not doing anything on the logbook, the assessment has been assigned, their competencies has been assigned, or the RPL has been assigned to them, and then everything is in order. So we'll get those lists of the inactive trainees, and then immediately when NIPA get that list, they will communicate directly to the trainees, and then they will ask, why is this not done? And then if they don't understand the reason, it's possible that the trainee might get penalties on this. Okay, we will move over now to the principal's login. So the principal login, the nice thing about this logbook is everyone logs in on a same platform, but when you go on the background, you actually access a different profile. So now I'm logging in as a principal. So you will see everything is still the same, but it's just more cleaner compared to the executive admin that you saw previously. So you will log in. Yes, at cyber.co.za. Then the password will be that. Don't save. So what I explain is this: when you log in as a principal, which maybe we'll see if we cannot change this way as well for NIPA purposes, maybe it should be principal, or maybe we can put something forward slash, yes, yes,
but
principal.
Yeah, the reporting, I would like them to be compared to SIPA and NIPA together.
Okay.
When it comes to that reporting and the results.
Yes. Okay. No, the reporting will be solely the NIPA functions, and then you'll actually act on it, and then you will be in contact with the principal.
Okay.
So this is what the principal will see when they log in on the logbook. So the first thing that you see is that 5% there. It actually says only 5% of your trainees on the logbook are currently active. So on my case, which I made myself as an OE, please as a principal, I think, yes, as a principal, please ignore the name on top. So I made myself as a principal here. So I'm a principal of this ATC, which is SIPA ATC. I have 81 trainees on my ATC as a principal. So this here, it actually tells me that only 5% of 81 trainees that I have on my ATC are active on their logbook. So they have done something. So immediately when you see this, then you must be concerned if you have 81 trainees, even if you have 2 or 5 trainees in your ATC. And then if you see only 5% is being completed. And the other thing will be, if it says 5% completed, just go on here where it says current year. So if here we have 1, 2, or maybe 3. So this is the number of years where the trainee is in. So if it's first years, the trainee will show as first years. If second year, the trainee will show as second year. If it's third year, it will show that. But one of the nice thing about this logbook is this. If the trainee has completed a calendar year, so maybe from one day to another, like from the 2nd of December last year to the 2nd of December this year, which is a year calendar, the trainee won't move to the next competency until the required components of the competency has been completed. So an example will be if the first year requires a trainee to complete 60 competencies before you move to the second year, it won't say 2 here until the trainee has completed the 60 competency and the year calendar. The same thing will apply if the trainee has completed 60 competency, but they haven't reached a calendar year. So it will be 1 of 60, and then it will move to 2. So if it's not 60, you don't move to 2. If the calendar year is being completed, but the 60 hasn't been reached, you don't move to the second year.
Principals, I think you can recognize or remember that was one of our problems, that some of the trainees, their progress is so slow and we cannot keep up. So at one stage they come to a third year employment period, but their training is only on the first year. So by doing this, it will identify problem trainees to you, and you can immediately respond to that and show them that their progress is not up to standard compared to the rest of South Africa and Namibia, as well as the standards. So this way we can then either eliminate trainees that are not progressing at the right rate or are too slow, or either tell them and give them some milestones to say, by that date I want you to reach something. I think you can bear with us that some of our trainees are in our program for 7 to 8 years. Previously it was up to 12 years, where the period, that the maximum period is 4 years, but you sit with a trainee for 12 years and you still cannot identify with the old logbook of what is wrong. By doing this, you can now identify what elements is not done and why is it not done within a specific time frame. And this is the way we can actually either uplift the trainees or get them out of the system.
And again, the last thing is, this is no longer your problem as a principal and then your problem as an ATC alone. Yes. So NIPA gets involved in this as well. So one of the reasons will be is not because the trainee is lazy or the trainee doesn't want to do the work. It's just maybe on some of the instances the trainee doesn't know where to start, which is where it comes with with the principle whereby you have to sit down with a trainee and then explain to them if they still don't understand, and then you can involve NIPA, which will actually help you to resolve those problems.
Yeah.
And again, on this dashboard, immediately when you click here
Status.
on status, it will actually shows you the logbook standing of that particular trainee. So in this instance, the trainee has 0% completed overall of the whole logbook. So meaning this trainee has nothing uploaded currently on the logbook. So again, it will show the percentage per progress of the trainee. And then one of the things is this. So immediately when the trainee has uploaded the documents on the logbook, the color of this button here will change. So it will change to awaiting your approval. And then immediately, like I explained, you get a notification that say S. Mutaung has actually uploaded this competency. Can you please go and review? So you'll click on the button, log in, and then it will take you straight here. So immediately after the trainee has uploaded the evidence, this moves to 50%, to 50 to 7, between 50 and 75%. So you will review the evidence as a principal. So how you review the evidence, you'll come here, you'll click the competency code, and then the evidence will be uploaded here. So the nice thing about it is you can actually download the evidence. It will come on the second page here. You review the evidence, you go back, and then if you are happy with the evidence, you can come here, and then you will get these 3 different cycles. So the first one, the yellow one, means it's in progress. The competency is been open, but nothing has been done on it. And then the second one means you can give a feedback. So when you're giving a feedback, always when you're giving a feedback, you must make sure that you give the trainees a constructive notes whereby they can be able to go back and work more on the competence. This is actually going to help the principals in this way. You don't have to spend time taking the files, look at each and every page, and then paging it through, making notes, or maybe signing on it and then taking it back, and then he has to bring it again. So immediately after uploading, you can come here and say, I'm giving you feedback, I'm not happy with this, please go and redo. Or you can come here and say, click completed, and then you say save, and then the logbook will be completed. So a typical example will be this. I click here, and then I say completed for this particular trainee, and then it will say status has been changed successfully. And then you close competency, and then you'll see what happens. On top immediately, it shows completed. And then when you go back, immediately it shows 100%. It shows that the competency has been completed. And then we have these ones here. So you will see we have C's and E's. And then on the manual logbook, we still have that as well, I think. So we have course, which need to be completed. There is no doubt about that. And then we have, yes, compulsory. Yes, we have this course, which is compulsory, which needs to be done. And then we have electives, which you have a number of the electives that need to be done on each and every competency, but you can actually get away with most of the electives on the logbook. But the course needs to be done. So immediately after you have done that, you will see the percentage on top, it changes to 2%, which shows that something has been uploaded on a logbook and it has been approved by the principal. Any questions so far?
I think some guideline that you as a principal can assist the trainee with is look at the percentages like that this person, for instance, have done, and most of them is 25%. So select the ones that they are nearing completion, assist them or notify them that they must then complete those ones to get the higher percentage and see in what of the areas is there problems. What I've noticed in Saldanha with some of the trainees is that they try to open too many of the assignments at once instead of taking them one by one or two at a time. You know, rather take them step by step than opening everything. And another problem that I have, that I saw that they have done there, is that they open it, and once they try to do the assessment, they forget about the assessments. They go and get coffee or whatever, and then they run out of time, because to each of these items is a time limit as well. So they need to know that once they sit down and they prepare this work, that they must be committed to that hour or 2 hours to complete that specific assignment. So we will tell them tomorrow also that they should rather try and complete one item at a time instead of having all of them at once.
So, and the nice part about this is as well, like if the trainee actually gets to do a little, they're actually motivated. So if you open for competency for a trainee, maybe for a month, if they complete that, they know they've reached a target, then they can move over to the new competence. Whereas if you open 144 competency, the trainee will ask themselves, where do I start here?
Yeah.
So the reason why the competency needs to be assigned by a principal is solely that you know the trainee, and then you've been working with the trainee, you know you have done this, you have done that, you haven't done this as yet. So I'm going to open the following competencies for you only for this month, and then you can achieve that target easily.
I think also when you do the assignments, you must make sure that you as a principal do not delay the training. Am I right?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
They must not get stuck and say, I've given them only one instead of four, and then it delays the training process, and then we find that trainees don't make progress fast enough. But we at NIPA will be notified or we will be able to see on how many of these assignments you actually open to them, and maybe help you with the process of how many you should assign per month.
And again, it's only fair if the principal looks at the schedule which with NIPA has of saying a trainee in a first year needs to have completed 60 competency. So as a principal, you will know that the trainee, I need to expose him or her to 60 competencies, whether it's in financial accounting, tax, or maybe wherever they are. But this is how I'm going to do it. Maybe he will do 10, I'm not sure, per term, or maybe he'll do 5 per term. But anyway, don't delay the trainee in such a way that you'll find a trainee spending 2 years on the ATC, but only 60 competency has been open for them, which is going to delay them in future. So, and one of the features that I did say that I'm going to show you once I'm logged into the principal's profile is this. So here you can only see, when you press this, you can only see the trainees who have applied for RPL via NIPA on your ATC. So you are only going to see, if you click assign RPL, you are only going to see those trainees who are on the list to actually be granted RPL.
And maybe, Shashab, I think we're using the word RPL a lot of times, but I don't think everybody knows what it means. It means recognition for prior learning. Now, the application to the IFAC program, one of the SMOs is the education process. We as NIPA need to demonstrate that our trainees follow a 3 or a 4 year training program. So if we just open it at once, and your third year trainee now suddenly does all this work in 1 month, then it defeats the purpose to say that we're following a 3-year program. And that's the only reason why we will go via the RPL route, to say, but they have had the experience, their date of employment is 3 years ago, and we are only uploading the correct information. At the same time, when we look at our accredited bookkeepers, and some of you might have them in your service, they will also follow the RPL route. And some of the people or members were a bit skeptic about the standards of the accredited bookkeeper. The accredited bookkeeper will now follow the same logbook and will be evaluated exactly the same as your trainee accountant. So there will be no difference between the two of them. But the only difference is that 15 years experience that such a accredited bookkeeper might have will be uploaded maybe in 1 month. So, and that is the purpose for that RPL.
And again, with that 15 years, you as a principal, you need to verify that was this person only doing journals for that 15 years, or they were actually doing the bookkeeping transactions. Maybe they were doing bookkeeping up until trial balance, or did they combine compiling as well, but not signing the financials. So by you sitting down with that particular person, you'd actually understand that this person has done this and that, and then they can actually upload this as an RPL. And then after that step has been done, so meaning this RPL leg is a three-way leg. So it's NIPA, it's trainee, and is the principal as well. So you as a principal, you can only do your work after NIPA has actually opened this for you and have captured the months or the years of the RPL which the trainee is applying for. So you cannot assign any RPL without NIPA putting the months first of saying, okay, we have received this request for this person to apply for RPL. We put 4 months, or maybe we'll put 4 years, or we'll put 3 years. And then when they put 3 years, immediately it will open from your side, and then this trainee over here has actually been opened by NIPA to say they can actually now apply for RPL. And then we go here, we click view, and then we can see that some of the things already has been RPL approved. So immediately after the RPL has been assigned to a trainee, the trainee will upload the RPL documents and RPL evidence. Remember, you discussed this with a trainee and then you agreed. So this is where NIPA will comes in again and say, is this what we saw? Is this what we signed? Okay, this is what we signed. This is where the monitoring visitor from NIPA will actually sit in front of this logbook, will check evidence by evidence of saying, okay, I've seen this, and then we'll approve. Only then we can say RPL has been successfully approved.
Yeah. I think at this point it might be nice for you or more clear if I explain to you how we are going to implement or the transition period of the trainees. All trainees that have completed and have signed off their logbooks by Charlotte will go automatically from June into the Project Achiever, which is a 5-month program to write the exams in November. Those trainees that are at the end of their logbook that can or will be eligible to write in November must also apply now. They do not need to do anything with this logbook. But all other trainees, we will apply for them for RPL and we will upload their logbooks so that we can monitor their progress and put them then through to the Project Achiever. All new trainees will start right from scratch with this new logbook. Is that right? That's how we agreed upon.
Yes. So for existing trainees, the one who are done, signed off, is well and good. They can actually go and write the PE exam in November and then preparing them via Project Achiever. And those trainees who are not going to write in November,
yes,
they will need to revisit the evidence and upload it onto the new logbook system.
Yeah. And from NIPA's side, we will pay attention to those third-year trainees first. All right? So we will have their information. We will apply their competency first, so that we can see exactly where they are. And I think once you see the reporting of the this
the
new
trainees,
logbook,
yeah.
it will be exciting for you.
And again, why would we want to, if after we have reviewed and then we see someone is on the third year and then they only left with 20 competency to complete, why would we want to move them over to the new logbook? So we'll let them complete on the manual logbook and then we sign them off there
Yes.
on the manual logbook, and then
Yes.
they can be able to prepare
Yeah.
and write the exam.
Yeah.
The people that will need to move is people who have 50% and below.
And below.
Yes, and below. And those people, I think they need to be at least not on, actually, it's going to be second year and third years who are on 50% because they will not be working hard enough. Then they will move over to the new logbook.
Yeah. One of the objectives of NIPA, specifically from the EdCom side, is to promote membership. So if we know, we will, with this program, know exactly who are the people that are the closest to membership, and we will be able to pay attention to those members first, so that we can push, if I say push the system forward to get our membership and the standard of the members on a higher level. So I think for too long, NIPA has been stagnated on when must somebody qualify. Up until now, we left it to the trainee to say when he is ready to qualify. But now we will be able to push him a little bit from our side and motivate him then to try and prepare for membership. And with a 5-month program for the PE, it will be able for they will be able to prepare better. Okay, so I think from a statistic point of view, we will be able to fast track our education system.
Not true. Is there any questions on the assigning of the RPO from this point? Because I did say on the first part, I was actually giving an overview, and then now we're getting into detail what you will need to do on a daily basis as a principal of an ATC. So here we have a second one, which is say assign. So you will see immediately one will ask themselves why at the beginning on the dashboard we say we have 81 trainees. We have 81 trainees, but when you come here, we say assign logbook, and we have 81 trainees, but when you check at the trainees associated with the principal, which is in case it's written OE, we only have 2. So it really doesn't make sense. We have 2 there, and then we have 81 there. Where is the rest? So here, when you say assign and then assign logbook, you will find all of your trainees here. So meaning these trainees who are here, they are waiting for me as a principal to generate their logbook. Generate means I have opened their logbook. They can actually log in, but they cannot do anything as yet until I've assigned competencies. So you will come here, and then we have a different features here. You can actually sort it the way you want it. According to all, if you want to see all, you can see all. And then you can generate each and every person individually. The reason why we don't have one-click buttons to say generate here, you might find out that one of the trainees has resigned already from your ATC, or maybe one of the trainees already, they are not exposed to the competencies as yet. You can only generate the logbook later on after you felt like they actually exposed to maybe 4 or 5 competencies. So, sorry. I can actually generate and assign the competencies to this particular trainee. So the trainee won't be able to do anything until you have actually taken this action of generating a logbook. And then we have these features of the report. So you will remember the reports previously, they included so many reports, but that's from NIPA's side, whereby they see overall view of everything which is happening on the ATCs regarding the principals, and the trainees as well. So here you'll only see your reports for your ATC only. So you will see an ATC overview. So when you see when you click on ATC overview, it will show you the stats of the ATCs, the name of the person, and then how far are they with the logbook. So this is how it's going to look. This is how your ATC overview will going to look. So this I prepared this as a sample. So meaning you will find out that the trainees are in different region. So this is under your ATC. You'll find that maybe the trainees are on the other town and then the two are on Windhoek. So this will actually shows you accordingly. Like if you have two branches of the ATC, maybe you have one based in Windhoek and then one based in another town as well.
Lynette and Valinda, I'm thinking of your company specifically. So maybe a person, I don't know, I will talk to Shashaba about that. It will give you an overview of the different trainees in Swakop, Walfish, and in Windhoek at the same time.
Yeah.
We discussed it with Lynette just now. You are only registered as one ATC, but you've got different towns or areas where your trainees are. But once it comes to your training needs or their training needs and when they need to be monitored, that will be specifically very helpful for you if you prepare specific training for them. And also when it comes to performance appraisals, you will be able to compare a trainee from Walfish Bay with a trainee from Windhoek on the same level. All your first years, all your second years, it will be immediately on your dashboard.
I think we have moved to a most important point whereby you can actually use this logbook as you can actually evaluate who's working, who's not working.
Yes.
And if you have a trainees who started at the same day doing this exactly the same thing from the different ATCs, but the one logbook is 0 and then the one logbook is 5%, then immediately you know there's something is not right there. So this will be the overview of all your trainees. You will see their completed percentages and then how far they are. But the nice thing about this is as well, we have different columns that you can add here as well. So if you want more details about the trainees, you just come here, then you add a column, and then after adding a column, you'll see all the information will appear on the side. Okay, is there any questions?
I think we will also move now from individual monitoring logbooks to more overall view of all your trainees, evaluating them at a different level. But now you will be able to have the statistics and the information that you need to compare them. Now we work on gut feeling.
True. And you can also tell who's an asset, who's a liability, and the company. And the company. So, and one of the things is this. Here we have a special feature for the principals as well. So this is like a support whereby instead of you sending an email, you'll come here and then see maybe you are a bit struggling with the logbook. Instead of going to your emails and then sending an email, you can actually submit your query here, which is pretty much simple. You just click here and then you type your query there, and then it will come straight to either me or
that email we will change to my email address.
Yes, we'll change it to NIPA's email address, and then it will go straight to NIPA, and then they will be able to assist you on how to navigate the logbook. So, and then one of the features here is instead of taking hours, maybe days responding to a query, actually this query can be responded easily because it's there on the logbook. When I log in onto logbook, I can see it, or maybe when someone logs in into NIPA, they can easily see the query, and then the query will be resolved as soon as it gets to our hand. And the other thing is, this is just a brief overview of everything. So this is how you actually change your profile. This is how you change your password. And then when you click on this, on the help button, the help button will actually give you a guide on how to use the logbook. So immediately when you have clicked help, it will download the guide on how to use the logbook, the OE guide on how to use the logbook. So it will give you step by step on how to do this. The same applies to the trainees. When the trainees log in onto the logbook, they will receive a guide. When they click on help, they receive a guide with pictures and everything on how to use the logbook. And then it's easy maybe to, if you have listened to the recording, or maybe if you have an understanding of this session, and then if you have forgotten something, you can easily go back to the manual and say, let me check as a principal, this is what I need to take into account, maybe to take into consideration as well.
And for your information, Charlotte is busy recording this session, and I think by tomorrow morning it will be available. Where will it be available, Charlotte? Charlotte, well, I think you can email her so that she can send you a link of the session if you for now need help. It might also help you to maybe attend a little portion of the trainee session tomorrow to get an understanding of what is expected from the trainee.
Yes. And then one of the things that I'm going to show you now is the actual assessment that we've been talking about. If there are no any questions at the moment. Okay, there are no questions at the moment. Okay. Well, what I'm going to show you now is the assessments that you've been. So I'm going to log in again.
As well.
I'm going to log in as administrator of NIPA now. So you will see.
SC.
Yes. I'm logging into the system. Then don't save. So this is what I'll actually be showing trainees tomorrow. So after they've done each and every competency, they will have to come here. They'll have to click the logbook if already. Okay. If the competency is completed, so let's say, for example, they have actually completed the cash book and then they've uploaded something. Here it shows 75. It means that they have been given a feedback, so they need to redo this. So after redoing this, and then it says 100%, the trainee will come and click here. Okay, something is blocking my. Okay,
Lynette.
we are allowing it.
Lynette, your question of will the logbook be amended to the Namibian tax and tax law for NIPA trainees? It is it is designed that there is no difference between them. If you are in Namibia, you will follow the Namibian tax law in your answer. If you are in South Africa, you will do the same. So you as overall principle, if say for instance it is a capital gains tax question and the trainee says there are no capital gains tax in Namibia and you agree to that, then that is okay. If however they try to attempt the South African law and they say that they are following the South African law, then it will also be okay. So the onus is always on the principal on what they would accept. So there's differences in like the company law, the tax law, commercial law, but you will apply. It is the same in the final exams as well. We've actually went through with Professor Small and Yaish through the final papers as well. The exam papers at the end of the year will also be in that you will give the answer in the current in the country that you are applying it. So you will be saying, I am from Namibia, this is the answer, and your calculation will be exactly the same. But there is no limit if you want to try another country or if you want to attempt both countries. So there are not so many calculation issues rather than principle issues. And I think that is very important. I hope I've answered your question.
And a typical example will be this, to extend that. The reason why I opened this is to show you like how is it structured. You will see objection of tax assessments. We didn't mention anything about doing calculations or doing that. So it's the basics. How do you do VAT? This is how I do VAT in South Africa, and this is how VAT is done in Namibia.
Yeah.
But we're still answering the same question. If we have an objection, how do we go about in doing an objection with the receiver of revenue? I'll say we do this in South Africa, and then you say you'll do this in Namibia, which is exactly the same context, but the principle might differ.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the text laws. Don't worry about anything. Our main question paper, which is the main exam, is solely based on the understanding of the trainee. We normally say is 90% of the paper you'll find it explain and discuss, and then 10% will say support with calculations, which doesn't say calculate, but it says support with calculation. So you'll need to explain and understand, discuss and understand before you can actually do calculations. So you're only supporting your discussion or your explanation with the calculations. Is the same example that you see here of evidence is you will get it on VAT, you will get it on it will specifically says the student will be competent when they can be able to submit the VAT returns on their own. Which VAT returns? I would say we submit it in this way in South Africa, and then you'll say a different thing in Namibia, which is exactly the same. So one of the things that I wanted to show you actually was when I clicked on the assessment, when the trainee has actually completed everything and then 100%, they click on assessment, it will take them to this platform here. So on this platform is our learning platform where they will log in. They will log in here and then put their password, and then it goes straight to the questions, and then they can attempt the questions. After attempting the questions, NIPA will be able to pull out the report saying this trainee is competent. It can be signed off completely. So one thing that we have to remember is we have 145 competencies on the new logbook, and we have 145 assessments which complement that. So in total, we have about 290 that needs to be completed within 3 years, which is a lot for trainees. So meaning if they do their competency, they must make sure that after completing each and every competency, and then the principal has signed it off, they must go and attempt the assessments immediately.
I'm just thinking now out loud, Rudolph, and I think you will know about that. At some point, I think 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4, there was a change in the constitution to say that at least 4 years for the trainees. That would be something that we need to change back to at least 3 years. I remember that you complained about that 4 years, and that was just now at the spur of the moment, thinking of what that requirement for the trainee is all about. So at our next AGM, I think we will have to re-look at that requirement for the learnership. I can remember specifically that you complained about that. What question is that?
He says he agreed totally.
Oh, thank you, Rudolph.
Okay. I'm not sure if there are any questions, any comments that we can actually take. But
I think, Shashaba, the onus of training now becomes eventually that of the trainee.
Yes.
So if you are too slow and a trainee asks you to please open up more assignments and you don't do your work, he may complain to us and we might ask you to do that. But if you only assign 4 per month, or it's 100 per year, if you think correctly, it's about 10 per month. So if you assign the correct amount and there's no progress from his side, then at least it gives you the tools to do the correct let's say remedial, the right remedial of where you stand with this trainee. I think we are all, and I'm talking from myself, we are all fed up for trainees that sits and only wants to do processing all the time because it is easy, or they sit and they do caseware financial statements, they copy and paste the whole time, they do not apply their minds. When I last week I went to Saldanha and Bellville, and I had time the whole Saturday afternoon spending time with the people that are going to write now in May.
Yes.
And the most important thing that the final trainees are being taught is how to read, how to listen to a client. And I think that comes through in all of these assessments. Charlotte and I and Brandon tried some of these assessments. We totally failed, but we're not going to expose anything on that. But I think we are trying to create or develop a new type of accountant that are not only a person that draft financial statements monotonously, but people that if they are in their third year, that you know that they might be able to assist with a client and put less pressure on you, but also somebody that the standard is so much higher.
And I think one of the things that we emphasize is that's why we moved away from saying the project achiever or this platform, or maybe when you get in the material, is to prepare for the exam. We used to have those things, those courses that we used to prepare for exam for 2 days, and a person will go and write the exam.
Yeah.
But now what we're trying to say is we normally say is you have learned, you have your degree, and then you have your qualification. You need to unlearn and relearn again.
Yeah.
So a person will say, but I spent 4 years of my life doing this degree. But you'll realize I was one of those people when we started this program. Actually, we were part of the pilot. Then when you get to understand what is it all about, you get to see that you're looking at a problem, but you're thinking that you only can solve the problem by going to the textbook. Whereas the only thing that you need to do is to think.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that we actually tell the people on this Project Achiever is you need to learn how to read. You need to learn how to read the required. A typical example will be the Candy Crusher. When you're playing a Candy Crusher game, you look first at what you need to do before you can play it. So people are thinking that by just reading the scenario, I understand the question, not knowing that you need to read the required first, and then you can answer the question after.
Yeah. I think what was also amazing for me when I attended that Project Achiever seminar with the 40 odd trainees is that a simple question like payments received in advance, it does not only tell you about, or they don't only ask you the question of what is the book entry or the journal entry. It asks you what is the impact on VAT, what is the impact on income tax, what if it is a foreign transaction, what is the impact on deferred tax. So what does the statement say about it? What type of mistake do you do if you apply the journal incorrectly? So for one simple transaction on the question, there are a million type of answers that must go through your mind. And immediately when I saw that, I was thinking, all of us have clients. They come in to sign the financial statements, but they ask a whole hour full of questions, and you must then sort out what do they actually want to do, and then you must start thinking, but what if that, what if that, what if that, what if that. So trying to learn them how to think on their feet. And this is what the program during the training, the logbook as well as the Project Achiever, that last 5 months is all about, is to learn that they must think on their feet. They must extract the correct question from the client.
Because this is actually how the real world works. So you will find financial statements which has VAT, which have capital gains, which has everything in it.
Yeah.
So it's combined into one.
Yes.
But why would we want to separate and say we're doing this separately and then we're doing that separately? And then again, one of the things will be we are trying to encourage the OEs or the principal to actually groom the trainees in their third year, saying, when I'm going to discuss financial matters with a client, you can go with me and see what I do. And then in the next one, you can actually go by yourself, and then I'm presenting these financials.
Yeah.
So this is how we actually trying to maybe develop better trainees for the fourth industrial revolution, which is upon us.
Yeah. And I think what is also evident, and you will see that if you look at the board papers that have been written now in the last couple of months, there are no questions like this is a tax question, this is accounting, this is commercial law, and this is ethics. It is all in one case study, and you do everything as one with the sole purpose on how to serve the public and how do you consult with your client.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done?
Yes. Are there any comments, any questions that we can take? Or maybe
tomorrow.
Yes, or maybe
no problem.
yes, or
You
maybe
guys,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you want to ask any questions or maybe make any comments, and then we are more than welcome to actually assist you.
You can also WhatsApp if you want to. Doesn't matter. WhatsApp, email. Shashaba and I are available tomorrow the whole day. We are going to sit a little bit with the trainees, but we deliberately kept Shashaba for the full day so that if you as a principal also have questions, that you can ask those questions. Okay, who's busy typing? Steven en Rudolf, ons gaan vir julle so 'n bietjie kans gee om julle vrae te vra.
He was saying thank you.
I kept on having a connection problem.
Okay. But
let's keep let us just keep them a little bit longer because there's two people busy typing questions.
Yes. But what I always say is this will actually work if we are working together. So we need to work together with NIPA as principals. And then the trainees, like Essie said, the trainees will be exposed in a process if they're not really working. Because at the moment, they will give excuses as blaming NIPA or blaming the ATC.
Principal.
Yes, blaming the principals. They will always blame the principal. But if you have done it, if you have done your job as a principal, and then they don't have to actually come back to you and say you haven't done your work. Will the session tomorrow with principal and trainees start at 12?
Session? Now, okay, at this stage, guys, we've agreed that we will work with the trainees from 8 o'clock, and I think it will also just be about 2 hours, but we want to give them some exposure on how to. All right? And then at 12 o'clock, we will have a combined session, and maybe at that time, you and the trainees had time to discuss this. Maybe it's not what you would like to do. Maybe you're excited about it or whatever questions. And then we will start the whole story again. The 12 o'clock session will not be a presentation. It will merely be questions and answers. So please have your questions ready so that we can type them and we can discuss them as we go along. Okay, are we done? Wie was nog daar? Rudolf, tik vinniger.
Thank you.
Okay, wat sê jy?
I assume NIPA will be generating accounts for all principals and trainees and provide the logbook details.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We will be doing that, Rudolf. So tomorrow, I can confidently say is tomorrow after every session, if it means that we do overtime, we'll do that. But we'll make sure that by tomorrow, latest Saturday morning, everyone should actually receive their login details in their mailbox. What I mean is by Saturday is we might send it later in the day tomorrow, and then you'll only see it on Saturday. But you will everyone will definitely have their login details as principal. And trainees as well. And again, what we actually going to do now is I think everyone will have one monitoring visitor, which is Charlotte. Right?
No, me.
Oh,
It
Is it?
changes.
Okay.
Oh, they hate me.
Okay. Yes, everyone will have a same assessor, which is a monitoring visitor on the system.
What does Lynette ask?
When will the system go live for Namibia?
Lynette, the implementation date is 1 June. But as soon as Shashaba has left and all these public holidays are gone, and I think that is about the middle of May, then we will try, or I will try, and get it on as soon as possible so that coming June that we are live, because that is, we have set milestones for this program as well, and we are and it forms part of our application to IFAC. So we would like by 1 June indicate that we have implemented. So the latest date for implementation is 1 June.
But the trainees, they always will get their logins by tomorrow. Yes, but everyone will be on the system. Maybe yes, everyone will be on the system, even though it hasn't gone live as yet, and then the implementation has been done. But NIPA will actually send out a communication to everyone saying you can now log in, and then the logbook is live. You can be able to actually do functions that you're supposed to do.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Rudolph?
Could you give a quick 20-second summary of the process?
While Rudolph is typing, I would like to ask Belinda at FCS, Zander at BDO, Stephen at SCN Associates, and Rudolph at CR van Wyk, that maybe tomorrow afternoon I can maybe show Shashaba around visiting your offices, if that is possible. If you could confirm that to me, that would be nice. I just want to show him a little bit on what our trainees are like and what the offices looks like, etc. Just to get some indication and something to take back. If there's any other offices that would like to be visited as well, please drop me a SMS. He's here until Saturday morning.
Okay.
Wait, Rudolph was typing.
Yes, Rudolph is saying, could we give a quick 20-second summary of the process from login, generating logbook, assigning elements, and approval?
Okay.
So, okay, so there's another one from Lynette as well.
Lynette says not many employees around on Friday afternoons.
But that's why I'm asking.
So this is how I'm going to give a quick summary. So this is